Where's it coming from? Okay.
Welcome back. We are on our insurance series today, and we will be talking about liability insurance. So I'm excited to have Ryan back today. Although liability insurance to some might be boring, it's important. It's important to have this information, know this information, and so that's what we're talking about today. So welcome.
Absolutely.
All right.
So
So
most people,
go
like we're
ahead.
saying, most people think of liability as the boring insurance, but it's actually, to me, it would meant the most important. So
Yes. Yes. So I always recall seeing that part on your statement, liability coverage and all that stuff. So if you can give us a high level explanation of what it is and how it protects us and give us all the details.
okay, give me a second here without live, because you can edit it or no.
No, we're going live. We're live.
Okay, that's okay. Because I'm getting a lot of feedback. I'm gonna try something. Okay,
Good.
free.
All good.
It should be good. Yeah. I
Okay.
was just
Very good.
changing the Wi-Fi. So with liability, one of the things that most people don't understand is you have your auto, you have your business, you have all of your protection for your house. It's all pay you and it's protecting you first person. Where liability insurance is in fact a third party insurance.
Okay.
So it's the one that will pay in a third party. So it's protecting you and your finances if someone else were to be injured, if someone else were to make a claim against you, which is why to me it's the most important protection you can have. You
Okay.
understand exactly what the value of your house is, you understand what the value of your vehicle is, but you can never truly understand what the value is going to be judged against you in personal injury, in business insurance, and in personal, like in business liability. Any of the liability, it's there to protect you as an umbrella would. It's essentially keeping the rain away from you. So it's your protection against others, which to me essential.
Yes. So when it comes to personal liability, this is, I guess, is personal liability or is liability insurance like when I'm driving in the car? Is that an umbrella for auto insurance, but liability under the auto umbrella? And so when I'm driving, I hit you and you make a claim against me. Is that liability insurance what protects me and essentially you?
Auto auto in Canada, in the US, all over, there is a liability portion to it. It's in any case when you hear the term liability for insurance, it's just insuring the property of others and the damage to others, whether it's personal injury or anything along those lines. So auto will have a portion of it that's liability. You'll see it on the forms. It's a certain amount. It's usually 1 million or $2 million. You also have personal liability attached to it in most situations, but there's also a whole separate judgment of personal liabilities. So if you're a high income earner, essentially what I usually recommend people do is get personal umbrella insurance is another term for it. And essentially it will protect anything above and beyond the coverage you are at. It's usually $2 to $5 million. So
Okay.
other examples, just so you know, other examples of liability insurance, errors and emissions insurance, and you as a realtor, I'm sure have like an E&O coverage through work or wherever.
Yep.
I know we do. It's just to ensure that if there is an error, if there is legal justification against the insurance company, against the insurance agent, or against anyone else, it's protection that way. All doctors, all lawyers have their own liability insurance just in case something that they do in their work causes damage. And business has a huge liability section too. So it's part of pretty much everyday life with insurance, which is why it's often not talked about, but it's a huge factor.
Right. So if I am driving and I cause a pile up with 15 different vehicles and it's considered my fault, that $2 million may not be covered, or that $2 million may be well above and beyond what I have coverage for. So personally, am I responsible for that amount over and above that 2 million?
Yes, in the situation that you're discussing, is just, you would be. However, that one, if there's multiple vehicles in it, it's very, very rare liability holder. It would be decisions along the way that are little catalysts. So you could be like the fourth car, but you be judged like or 2% responsible, and then it boils into a pot of all of the $2 million, which is where they get those kind of numbers. Is they've worked out the mathematics of what it would be. So you'd be comfortable at that number without a doubt. But yes, if you're carrying 500,000 or like $1 million liability, you'd be responsible above that.
Right. Okay. And I'm personally responsible. Like that just is somehow going to be coming from my pocket.
Repeat for me.
Did I? Sorry. So if I am responsible for 2 million and I only have 1 million coverage, then I am personally responsible for $1 million that has to come out of my pocket.
If you have $1 million through the court that they say you're responsible for that differential. That's correct.
Right. And personally. Now, what is this umbrella liability insurance that people can invest in to help safeguard them?
So umbrella is a coverage that would be in addition to that. So it's for your personal coverage. A lot of people cover it, for example, if they're worried that they're underinsured, or if they have the math behind it. The easiest way to think about it is if you're concerned about your personal value, like your wealth value is above everything that you own added together, then you should probably have like the personal umbrella. Essentially what it's saying is anything that would be the differential would be covered. I'll say $5 million additional coverage on top of the liability that you carry. So
Okay.
that 2 million in your vehicle to 7 million total. If that's
right.
a good way to.
Okay. And so what does, oh, go ahead.
Oh, and so but it would cover far more than like your automotive like example, like the car example. It could be anything. It could be you get found responsible for hitting someone in the head with a golf ball, or you're found responsible for you do work on someone's house, like as a company, and you have damage to their basement, causes flooding through like poor workmanship, that would be covered under like a corporate umbrella policy or corporate liability policy. There's so many different, it's to prevent you being found legally responsible for causing an incident to occur. So it could be anything, as long as it would be deemed. Essentially, the two big ones are if it's a malicious act, like if you do it on purpose and you do it intending harm, or if it's total negligence, like if you're completely out there. Those are the
Right.
big two that we cover. But other than that, any responsibility would be covered.
And so what type of extra payment would that look like for somebody? And does the process of applying for this umbrella insurance, are there factors that are considered when applying for something like this?
There are factors that are considered. They're not really damaging in any way. They're things they don't judge how, like, it's nothing along those lines. It's if your profession will impact it, and then they'd say, okay, they'll exclude work related things. It'll only be personal. If, for example, you'd have to have your additional coverage for that, or if you're a doctor, additional coverage for that. So that's really a limitation. In terms of cost, personal liability or even liability insurance in general is super affordable. It's versus all the other coverages. It's coverage that they're providing.
Okay, so would you say like $20 a month, or like what, like roughly like what generalized sort of like, is it like hundreds of a month or like less than 100 a month kind of thing?
It would depend, definitely lower. It would depend on what you're seeking. Like if you're looking for $10 million worth of coverage and you're like doing high risk behaviors, say for example, you're a pilot, might affect what they're looking at, like in terms of cost. So there's many different variables, but they're very cost in comparison. So like tens to maybe like $100. Like it's not gonna break the bank. It's
Right.
I've seen some that are $2 to $3 in addition to other policies. Like it's not a major concern of cost. It's just
Okay.
a lot of people don't even know that it's a thing that exists out in the economy or out in the world.
Right. Which is why we have these discussions, so people know that there are things like this to help protect them. Is
Absolutely.
there anything else that you can that you can add to the liability kind of umbrella of insurance? Any other things that people need to know or
Oh,
should know?
absolutely. There's a couple of things that are important for people to know. The first one is it doesn't just cover, in the example of the auto or in any of the examples, it doesn't cover the out to the other party, but liability is what is paying the legal costs. So they'll pay to have the lawyer defend you, and then if there is a payout, then they pay the payout. So it's that added coverage of having a decent lawyer in the case that there is a liability issue, not just going at your own and kind of praying that you're found not guilty or that it's not. It's having the support of the insurance company behind you with their lawyers and with people who can guide you through the process. And
Now, do you get to
claims
choose?
like,
Sorry.
it's okay.
Do you get to choose your own lawyer who represents you?
You can choose your own. We also have state lawyers that we can recommend. Like if you go in and you say, this is my lawyer, I want him working on it. Great. If you know that there's an expert that works in the field, they're flexible that way. But if you have no idea and you're looking for a strong lawyer, we use them all the time. And so of course we know who we can recommend out. So that's noted. The other one is there's tons of kinds of liability insurance that people have no concept of. So there's a specific liability insurance if you're going to be in a Santa Claus parade or you're going to be in a parade. A lot of the people who run the parades are now asking for like individual event liability insurance, so that if you're driving in the parade, you have the additional coverage. If you're marching, like if you're a group, that you're covered. The other one that I get recommended, people calling me for a lot, are like craft shows or craft fairs, or if you're selling something in a venue, they have individual event or like seasonal coverages just for those micro businesses that are basically being run by individual people, and that's most people wouldn't even think exists, but it's out there. The other ones that I've mentioned that's important are like the high net worth individuals, people who have, even if you have $4 million sitting that you've invested in other things, it's important to realize you should probably have your net worth covered at all times.
Right. That makes sense. So you're not losing your
other ones are errors and omissions. We kind of covered. It will just cover any professional. The other ones that are liability is director officer. So if you're running or if you're on the board of a charity, of a business, a lot of the times and officer insurance, it's like none of them are super expensive. Liability is difficult to predict though. It's you never know when you're going to need it, but when you need it, you want to have the best possible coverage there versus other factors of your life.
For sure.
Anything else? That's the important part. all you have to think about for liability is you're essentially protecting yourself against others. You're protecting yourself for the damage that you could potentially do, property, and the personal damage, personal injuries that because there's a liability insurance no matter what for having any kind of third party claim made that's liability based. So highly recommend.
So homework for everybody who's tuning in to this should be to be double checking on what your liability coverage is on all of your insurance coverages.
Do the quick math on it. Just figure out what you are worth. Like I know even for my bank, like they have a statement on it that just says like what all my investments are, because I have everything kind of centralized, and it'll tell you like your net worth is X. All you have to do is that equal to liability that, and if not, you may want to have a sit down. Otherwise, you're good to go. Just keep on keeping on, and you're good.
For sure. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I don't think that liability insurance is conversation, like general conversation that happens every single day with individuals. So I thought it would be good to have you on to just dive a little deeper in on this. And I think it's all very good information, and knowledge can sometimes be power when you are trying to protect yourself. And so we're trying to be proactive with doing this instead of reactive, because it doesn't help you once you already are in the pickle or the situation and you don't have the coverage. It's better to be prepared and be proactive and have the coverage and be safe when you are in that situation. So
100% agree. Thank you for having me again.
Thanks, Ryan. We'll talk to you on the next one.
All right, perfect.